Judge Matt Whitaker, former acting attorney general and legal surrogate to former President Donald Trump. Great to see you today, Matt. First of all, I do want to start with what we've seen, and we don't know why one juror was dismissed. Sometimes it can be for a personal reason, so we won't get into that aspect of it or try to read the tea leaves. But 6 women, 6 men. We do know that about half of them are gun owners. What else do you know that you think is important?
Well, I think it's very interesting that a couple of these jurors also had substance abuse family members that will obviously help them understand what may have been going on. Because remember, as someone that's tried cases both as a prosecutor and a defense lawyer, one of the things that you tell the jury is that they don't check their reason and common sense at the door. And so Harris, they can bring those experiences of whether it's dealing with a family member with addiction, whether that's being a gun owner or otherwise, and understand maybe a little better the context. But at the same time, they are sworn to focus only on the facts that are presented at trial and not bring anything, from the public arena that they might research on their own.
Well, that's really interesting. Because I think that what we are learning, at least have in the last few weeks, is that people come as people.
Yep.
All right, Matt.
They do.
The son of a sitting president has never before faced a criminal trial. And Miranda Devine writes, Joe Biden's looming presence over Hunter Biden's trial serves as a warning to their political enemies and calls the power of the Biden family undeniable. The same take even echoed by legacy media. NBC News writing it was impossible to escape the presence of the first family, their influence, and their long history hovering over the courtroom. Well, that's interesting. I mean, you can't get past it when the first lady walks in, and I realize they're family. Yeah. But she's a certain type of family member. By the way, she celebrated her birthday yesterday while she was at court with Hunter, so happy one to her.
Yeah, and this is, I think, one of the biggest challenges in the contrast between what happened in New York City over the last several weeks and what's happening in Delaware. This is very much a home court advantage for the Biden family, and having Jill Biden as the first lady walk into court and sit behind Hunter, it sends a very clear message to that jury, who are, again, citizens of Delaware. We're in federal court in Delaware.
Exactly.
And I think that's much different, Harris, than what happened in New York City, where it was a little bit of an away game. And, obviously Democrats permeated the judge and the jury box. And it's just it's a different sense of, kind of which field they're playing on. Yeah,
well, the entitlement of being not just a citizen and not just a voting person in the state of Democrat, that you can't get over the fact that they're so well known even before he gets into the White House as vice president, as president. I mean, they're part of that community there in Delaware.
They are. But remember, the reason we got here in the first place, Harris, is because this judge, Noriega, that's presiding over this case, rejected the sweetheart plea deal that the U.S. Attorney's Office was trying to slam through, where he was going to get probation and some misdemeanors for both the gun charges and the tax charges. And now he's facing felonies in 2 different jurisdictions. And so, I think obviously the more serious charges are the tax charges in California, but, these gun possession charges and illegal purchase of a gun are also equally serious.
I want to remind everybody how we got here. I found this in the Washington Post. I thought it was interesting. So he was dating his late brother's ex-wife, Hunter Biden. And Hallie Biden awoke on an October morning in 2018 after Hunter Biden had slept over for the night. And while he was sleeping, she dropped off the kids at school and then returned to rummage through the truck he had parked outside. According to the Washington Post report, she was anxious as to what the admitted drug addict might be hiding. When she found a newly purchased Colt Cobra 38 handgun, she was hit by a wave of anger and fear. I won't go on to how she ended up at a dumpster to dispose of this and all the things, but that's the journey that got us started on this one charge against him. And you see the timeline of Hunter Biden's indictment there up on the screen. You see Hallie Biden, the second thing there, takes the gun and tosses it in a trash can. Well, she didn't just take it there. She already suspected, because she was living with someone who was using illicit drugs, Matt. She knew things were bad. So she went looking to see what she would find. How would that get into this case? Like, what would that type of knowledge, those facts, and they are facts, what would they do inside of a case like this?
Well, I mean, they're going to be mesmerizing for the jury because you're going to have Beau Biden's widow, who was Hunter Biden's girlfriend at the time, testify to all of this and tell all the details, including how she discarded the gun. And then you're probably going to have a testimony about how that gun was then found in the trash by somebody that was digging through the trash. And so you add all of that together, and it's it's going to be a compelling story for this jury. And I would expect, I mean, most of these facts, to your point, are uncontroverted. I don't know how Abby Lowell is going to defend this because, essentially the elements of the crime are very simple. And that's one of the things about this case, Harris, is we're not going to be talking about jury instructions. This is a well-worn path to justice in this case. Compare that to what happened in New York City, where there's still debate over what crime Donald Trump was convicted of.
Yeah, and the point I was making is that the argument for Hunter Biden has been, well, he'd just gotten out of rehab and he had been a drug user. This woman was so worried about it, she went through the man's truck while he was sleeping. Okay? He clearly still had some issues with drugs. Just according to Hallie Biden and her behavior. Right. Congressional Republicans taking on the practice of lawfare now after former President Trump's New York verdict. House Judiciary Chairman Jim Jordan proposed a new appropriations package that would defund federal prosecutors at the helm of recent politically charged investigations. And that includes Special Counsel Jack Smith, Manhattan District Attorney Alvin Bragg, and Fulton County District Attorney Fonnie Willis. A new op-ed highlights the power of prosecutors to target anybody they want. Quote, with state and federal criminal cases, or laws rather, as limitless as the stars in the heavens, about the worst thing a prosecutor can do is prosecute people instead of crimes. When a prosecutor says, quote, vote for me, I'll find a way to get Mr. X, end quote, he's abusing his power. Who wants to live under such a regime? Case in point, New York Attorney General Letitia James, who brought that massive civil lawsuit against former President Trump earlier this year. Watch.
I will never be afraid to challenge this illegitimate president when our fundamental rights are at stake. It's important that everyone understand that the days of Donald Trump are coming to an end.
I look forward to going into the office of Attorney General every day, suing him, defending your rights, and then going home.
So what's so helpful about that is you saw how far back those dates went. July of 2018. We know when the case was adjudicated. Matt.
Yeah, this is the biggest concern about all of these cases, and I applaud Jim Jordan. Right now, Merrick Garland is testifying in front of the Select Committee on Weaponization, and I had a chance to dip into that for a period of time and watch some of the ridiculous answers that this current Attorney General gave. But we cannot target individuals and then try to assign crimes because, that ends up with a complete system where the rule of law is no longer respected, where it does not matter what the law says, that there is no equal protection under the law, and we're going to devolve into chaos and anarchy and in just a matter of complete power plays as to who is politically powerful and who is politically unfavored. I mean, that is a real dystopian future that the left wants, and I hope that Congress can pass some of these laws to defund the clear weaponization of the Department of Justice.
Dystopian and banana republic-like. I mean, the case came years after. She said all of those things about going after Trump. Matt Whitaker, always great to have you. We may bring you back as the news warrants.
Harris.
We have a couple of things going on today legally, so we appreciate you.
Hey, everyone. I'm Emily Campagno. Catch me and my co-hosts Harris Faulkner and Kaylee McEnany on Outnumbered every weekday at 12 p.m. Eastern, or set your DVR. Also, don't forget to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page for daily highlights.